Hans and Brian, and we're tasting through the Dark Arts Malt Whiskey. So think about Scotch, but this is the American version, so you can't call it Scotch. This is the reason why I started the distillery, as a Scotchophile, someone who just loves Scotch, single malt Scotches. This was the product we set out to make. We took a different approach though. So malt whiskey and Scotch is typically about very fine balance of a lot of subtle flavors that come together. We wanted to focus on the malt. So rather than having peated versus a non-peated Scotch, we wanted to take the malt and push it as far as you could through caramelization, the way that American brewers do beer. So we opened up the full malt library, focused entirely on specialty malts, and created this whiskey which was really hard to make because when you burn those sugars, caramelize them for flavor, you're losing your ethanol yield. So it becomes really expensive and challenging to make. But this was the reason I started the distillery. So it's purposefully off-balanced with the chocolatey malt in your face, and that's why there's a dragon on the bottle. It's very unlike the other products we make, which are all about perfect balance. This one is just meant to be in your face, pushing the malt as far as you can. And I always say this is like the Ferrari monster truck of malt whiskey. Today we have batch 2, which we're currently on batch 10 when we blend these babies up. But batch 2 is our all-time favorite. We don't have much of this left, and Hans will give you the tasting notes, but there's one little note in here that is so unique. It makes it my favorite, and that is it's got a bit of seaweed in it.
Completely agree. It's unique. It's got the chocolate backing through the whole mouthfeel. It's got the seaweed on the nose, a little bit of sea salt. It's just amazing. This was a blend of new American oak barrels, used bourbon barrels at the time, and right about 5 years old at the time we actually released this.
Yeah, several years ago.
Batch 10 is now up to 9 years old, and we're finding flavors in these barrels like green coffee beans, like chocolate, baker's chocolate,
bitter orange peel,
apples, like
caramel apple.
Gosh, I tasted a barrel the other day that was like a bruised green apple, and it's just, these flavors are all over the place. Meadow flowers, and so they are just unique to itself, and we blend it per batch because of that. You know, in every single release you find something different, and it's quite amazing.
It is, and this is an enormous whiskey. So when you're drinking this one, I would say absolutely plan to spend an evening with it. You know, get your glass, put a few drops of water to let it open up, and then as this liquid oxidizes, it is a ride, man. This thing, the nose and the flavors and the finish change. It starts off, you know, kind of orangey, and then it gets really chocolatey, and then it gets cinnamony, and then you get all sorts of the different complex flavors that come in this one, the seaweed. And then if you leave just a tiny bit in your glass and let it sit there for a minute, and then put your nose in it, you're gonna smell milk chocolate, like Hershey's milk chocolate. And it's a wild ride. When we do tastings here at the distillery with people, we can taste one glass for an hour, and it's, you know, it's fun to get in a Ferrari monster truck and drive it.